Big Blood Fight Show. I'm your host, Dave Duenas. Okay, Roy Jones versus Calzaghe. I just got done watching it. My prediction was Calzaghe by decision, and that's pretty much how it went. Okay, a lot of times when somebody makes predictions and it's not right, you get a lot of people that get on there and say, "Don't post another video. You don't know boxing." And I had posted my prediction about Roy Jones versus Calzaghe about 3 months ago when I had just started the show, and I had a lot of guys get on there and comment and email me saying I don't know what I'm talking about. I have no clue what it is about boxing if I don't love Roy Jones, and it really didn't have come down with me loving Roy Jones or supposedly I don't know anything about boxing, right? I have had some wrong predictions like everybody else. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people that were going for Roy. My heart was going for Roy, but I was really going what was in front of me, the stats of what Joe Calzaghe was able to provide, which was it's just had to lean a lot more towards Calzaghe. So pretty much what I want to come down to is I've always been humble enough to admit when I am wrong on my predictions. So the same people that talk shit to me, when I was wrong on predictions and stuff, let's see how humble you are to get back on my show and comment and say that you were wrong and you're an idiot and you should never comment on my show and you don't know shit about boxing either, right? Okay, so let's go down to what happened. What happened on this great fight? First off, it was a phenomenal fight. I loved it, man. Every little bit. I never sat down in the bout. The undercards weren't that great. Zab really just didn't look like Zab at all, unfortunately. He didn't do an awesome performance. It might have been because the guy's head was being put in his face. The cuts, he had 2 cuts on his face. It might have took him out of his game plan. But regardless, whatever, I don't make any excuses for him. He just didn't look fantastic in that bout. He got the win, but it wasn't that great. All right. Other fights, Emmanuel Augustus, the Drunken Master, he's a veteran fighter, but Elato, Frankie, he did exactly what he was supposed to do, which was outbox the older fighter and just kind of take it to him and stuff. Went 8 rounds, but really was just going. Frankie was able to do his thing in there and even kind of do the Drunken Master showboating himself and get away with it. So, good job for Frankie there. It was a hell of a good job. I've seen Frankie fight before, and you know what? Really down-to-earth guy, really humble guy, really great guy. First off, I got to say about Frankie Elato, so I wish him the best, and just keep doing what you're doing, brother. Now, Joe Calzaghe versus Roy Jones. Well, one of my predictions was on my keys to victory is if whoever establishes the jab is going to be able to dictate the bout, and it looked like Calzaghe was able to establish it. He established it. He was able to keep Roy Jones at bay. He was able to catch him on those ropes and stuff and be effective with him, doing his pot shots, and he really used his speed on it. But the thing I really liked about what Joe Calzaghe did in this bout was that he was very conservative in his shots. Okay. He did throw a lot of punches, but he landed a lot, and he made him a big plus when he landed, okay? And that really kind of kept Roy at bay and kind of confused in the bout. Roy looked to try to be the puncher, which he did get a flashing knockdown on Joe Calzaghe in the first round, and was really reminiscent of Bernard Hopkins versus Joe Calzaghe. But Joe, like he said, being a true champion, you rise and you fight harder, and that's exactly what he did. The thing, though, too, on the keys to victory that I had posted out, number 2, was I had said that when Joe gets Roy against the ropes, the one thing that he couldn't do was do that real amateur thing that he used to do was square up his legs, okay? He would put his back leg in line with his front leg, and it would square up his shoulders, and it would have him off balance. He didn't do that if you watched it, all right? He made sure that he had his blocking stance at all times, all right? So that he was able to, go forward but pull back when needed. And that's exactly what he did, and it was phenomenal in the performance that he was able to really show the world, and why he's considered one of the top 10 fighters of the world, right? So that already being said, it was a great fight, but there was a lot of things in there too that made Roy Jones fall apart. For one, the speed of Calzaghe did give him problems. I had said, maybe the speed may match because, Roy not being really in his prime, and it was. Really, you saw that the speed of Calzaghe kind of just took over on the third, fourth round, okay? By the fifth round, you saw the distress on Roy Jones' face. You saw the confusion on Roy Jones' face. Now, when the cut came into play, you really saw the big confusion on Roy Jones' face. Honestly, I thought they were going to stop the bout just because of the fact that you could really see that Roy wasn't able to see out of that eye. He was having problems with it. The other thing, too, was that the corner of Roy Jones had never been put on that type of position before. So they were really in a stage of shock with this happening. They really didn't know what they were doing. There was a lot of blood coming out of Roy Jones' eye, and that would cause blindness and stuff. And really, honestly, if this was not a fight of the magnitude that it was, I think it would have been stopped by the doctors, with the blood falling into the eyelid, really blinding the fighter and stuff, and he could really seriously got hurt. And really, if you really think about it, on the 10th round, even going in the 10th round, you could see the respect that Joe Calzaghe had, because I kind of felt that Joe could have landed some harder shots, because he was landing some pretty tough shots in the mid-rounds. But he kind of backed off from him, and that could have been like a graceful way of saying, like, you know what, I don't want to knock out this legend. I want him to win on both his feet and walk away and, live to another day. That's pretty much how I took it, because I think at any given moment he could have applied more pressure on him and really kind of looked for that knockout, but he did it. He could have been too. He was, knowing still that Roy still got a great punch and could put him down and stuff, and he was like figuring, why take that risk? I'm ahead on the scorecards, what everybody was saying, just win on a unanimous decision. Now, boils down to who does he fight next. They did mention Chad Dawson, but I have to agree with a lot of critics, and I've said it before. What significance is there for him to fight Chad Dawson? There's really none. And really, in them walking into the bout and stuff, is it going to be another mega fight? It wouldn't be a mega fight. It would be just another ordinary event, okay? And Joe Calzaghe would be the favor of that bout. Chad has not really, still even beating Tarver, it doesn't prove that he's the most threat for Joe Calzaghe for his legacy. It doesn't make any sense. Money-wise, event-wise, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I just don't see that happening. Unless Chad Dawson is to fight somebody else, like Bernard Hopkins, and defeats him, But I don't even see Bernard Hopkins really taking a risk and fighting a faster fighter, than him, okay? So I'm going to have to say that probably Joe is what it's going to boil down to, even though he said, I'm going to lean back, sit back, and really just kind of weigh it out with my family and to discuss it with them. I really see him not retiring. I really see him going after Bernard Hopkins and making a more convincing victory for himself, okay, fighting Bernard Hopkins, just because of the fact that you have one half of the boxing community saying, Bernard won, another half of the community saying, a boxing fan saying Calzaghe won, okay? So I see there's a big money, and another big major event for Joe Calzaghe. So you know what? My prediction was right on that fight, but hey, you know what? You win some, you lose some. That's all part of boxing. Just because you don't get one prediction right and you get the other one doesn't mean you know more than the casual fan. You know what I'm saying? I'm just a hardcore boxing fan, just like you guys are hardcore boxing fans. My subscribers understand that, and the people that talk smack to me were not subscribers. They're just little kids that just like to jump to everybody's site and try to act like they know boxing when they weren't even on my boxing show commenting before when I make these predictions. Anyways, I'm your host, Dave Duenas, and this was another edition of the Will Be Blood Fight.